Hi everyone, I'm really pleased to have Wendy here with me today. And before we get going, I'm going to give a short bio and just explain a little bit about the background for Wendy and maybe a little bit about how we met. So Wendy Fry is an emotional health consultant and writing coach. She helps aspiring authors confidentially write from their hearts, offering a range of personalized coaching programs, VIP days, and writing retreats. So sounds amazing. With over 20 years experience in the wellbeing industry, Wendy offers a range of therapeutic writing support services, workshops, and training courses for people just like you to achieve their personal and professional goals fearlessly. And I'll try and remember to ask you for your website at the end, and we can also put that in the notes, but I will say now it is wendyfry.com. So nice and easy. So thanks again, Wendy, for joining me. And, you know, I really want to talk to people in this general wellbeing industry. And obviously over the past, it's about a year now that you and I have really spent quite a lot of time communicating together and maybe helping each other in different areas. I feel you've helped me hugely. It was about a year ago that we had a little Facebook Messenger conversation where I'd sort of given you a bit of info on something else, and you were like, oh, if I can help you with anything. And I was like, well, I am writing this book. And you were like, oh, I'll send it over, I'll have a look at it. And like within no time you'd read the thing and you'd come back with some amazing feedback. And I just feel like since then, all you've done is send me all this feedback, all this information. Oh, this link's great. Have you thought about this? This offer's going on. And it's been brilliant. And I sort of feel like I've got a real author friend in you, as well as somebody who I obviously feel is a confidant. And you're inspirational. You're also incredibly encouraging. And I feel that although I think I was going to write my book, having that confidence of you having read it and said, yeah, you know, I like it and I feel it's got something to offer people, it gave me the confidence to really go for it. So thank you for that.
My pleasure, Anne. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, we originally, I don't know if you remember where we originally met, but I remember it was some training for what is now called Energy Emotion. It was Emotrans in those days, and that's where we first met. And you were very much into the therapy side of things at that point. But your work seems to be transitioning. But one thing I was sort of interested in, going back to the therapy side, is how did you get into the therapy?
Yeah, sure. I'll answer that in two ways, if I may, Anne. And, you know, just to say again, thank you for the opportunity to come on and share. And I always love to have the privilege of being interviewed and also sharing my honesty, because I think if we're all honest, even as therapists or authors or coaches, however we might title ourselves, we all come from somewhere. So my original journey into therapy, not necessarily being a therapist, but having therapy when I was younger, was in my late 20s. I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And at the time it was so bad, it was called chronic hyperventilation syndrome. And I was literally collapsing out because I was becoming overwhelmed emotionally. So my therapy journey actually began with me having therapeutic support in my late 20s, understanding stress, understanding anxiety, actually understanding what was going on for me at a physical level. And that was very helpful for me at that time because it helped me address unresolved issues from the past. It was an opportunity to talk about my past and work through it. So my first experience of therapy was having the support. And then it's funny because it was probably in my mid 30s. I was on a beach in Wales, of all places, reading a book about life coaching. And when I was reading it, I thought, I'm actually doing this. Nearly, you know, everyone in my life who I come into contact with, I'm coaching them in some way. And I was like, I didn't actually know I was doing this. So the book, in a way, gave me a kick up the backside. And I thought, you know what, actually, my life experience has given me many skills and many talents. And why wouldn't I want to use them professionally? So what got me into the therapy journey, if you like, was starting as a Reiki practitioner, then going on to have a great coaching qualification with the achievement specialist, then sort of going on to study NLP, hypnosis, and then other various energy modalities. So that's a two-pronged way of, you know, how I got into therapy. Was actually at that 20-year-old needed to address some childhood and teenage issues. And then the older version of me is actually, well, do you know what? I didn't have the help and support I needed at the time. And actually, what can I give back? So I've been on this sort of learning mission. I'm 53 now, but on this learning mission for the last 20 years, and absolutely love the privilege of helping other people move beyond their past, so that whatever's gone on for them, they recognize that it doesn't need to shape them in a negative way, that they can actually use their past to work for them, not against them. And as you picked up, you know, naturally I'm progressing, or I'm evolving as a person. Writing has been part of my journey. I absolutely love to support other people to get their books written and published, and for them also to share their message. So that may be someone who is coming from a therapy background, or someone who wants to share their memoir, who's been through life experience and life journey, as we all have. So yeah, the therapy angle, I tend to class myself more as an emotional health consultant or a writing coach, although I do use hypnosis as a therapy and various other modalities in my work. So a great question. And again, I always believe in sharing honestly that some of what I've learned, or some of what I share, or how I practice, is, you know, this is real life experience that defines a person. The qualifications are something else, but actually, you know, this is about what experience have you been through that may actually be pivotal in your career, in your future, or however you might go on to write and publish as well.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? I really feel in my work that so often I'm referring to my life experiences as part of how I can help others.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I always think if I was trying to do this job in my 20s, I don't feel I'd have done such a good job, because I actually feel like I needed those life experiences.
Yeah.
And, you know, that sort of then obviously blends into the writing, because then, well, the world is your oyster, really, isn't it, when you come to writing? And so how did you then sort of blend that therapy? How did, apart from anything else, how did that come about? How do you blend the therapy and writing? What's sort of your process?
Sure. And again, a fabulous question. And so I believe I've always had a book inside me. As a kid, I've always written. And in fact, you know, that teenage self who was going through unbelievable sort of family changes in a short space of time, how I actually got through that was to write. I would write poetry. I would just write out how I was feeling. So, you know, back then, writing was an outlet for me. I wrote my first book, so started writing in 2013. And that book, I mean, I believe we all have a book inside us. And that book was, in a way, therapy in a book for people who were going through relationship difficulties. So I perhaps had a difficult relationship with myself from what went on in my childhood, and changes around my teens, and then in my 20s. So the book actually helped me in some ways. When I wrote my first manuscript, was in a way a release of emotions. And then actually, when I was going back through and doing my first edit, it then became apparent to me, you know what, this book isn't for me, it's helping me, because I'm writing about what happened. And I share part of that in 3 pages in my first book called My Story. And the idea to me of creating a therapeutic book for others to read and work through isn't to, you know, for the whole book be going on and on about your story so that it becomes difficult for the reader. It's very much to say, hey, you know what, this is what I went through, and these are the processes that I used to help me. This is what I struggled with, and this is what I overcame. And actually, these are some of the ideas, or some of the things that you can do on your own. So for me, the reason I wanted to create a book was to have a low-cost item for people who maybe can't afford therapy or don't want to share with another person, they can go through the book in a very succinct and methodical way and actually learn some of the techniques that are shared. So my first book is Find You, Find Love. And that book is around discovering who you are. So again, we can all go through these life experiences. We can forget who we are. So that first book, you know, the therapeutic angle of that is actually getting people to understand what's going on for them emotionally, how they relate to themselves, what they say about themselves, how they're taking that into relationships. So again, the therapeutic angle is blending. So within my first book, I've blended some case studies. So these are people that I've worked with and I have permission to share their case studies. People I've worked with relationship difficulties, using the processes that I've either developed myself or I've gone on to train in and share with others. And they're able to read in a way, we'll put some of the feedback on Amazon or personal feedback that I've had is people feel like they're in the room with me and that I'm there beside them. So I write in a way that's very natural, like the speaking flow that we have here. And I'm just very real and very down to earth. So I think that the books are accessible. You know, we call it therapy. To me, therapy is you're having a conversation with someone. And how better to have a conversation with someone who has been through something similar to you, who understands to a degree what's going on, who understands your limiting beliefs, and you're putting some case studies in there that people can identify with. And you're saying to them, hey, your story doesn't have to be your story for the rest of your life. These are some of the techniques you can work through emotionally, physically, spiritually to evolve. And actually, you know, what part of your past has been brilliant that you can turn into positive. So yeah, my relationships were changing time and time again from, you know, my 12-year-old aspect right up till my late 20s. And actually how fantastic, because I've used that experience to work for me. You know, my second book as well, Mothers and Daughters, is about the conflict, if you like, in mother and daughter relationships. And that covers everything from being adopted to having a great relationship with your mum, not knowing your mum, or having a period of time where you may not be having a relationship with your mother for whatever reason. So again, part of my story is shared within the therapeutic angle of mothers and daughters. But actually, it's at the time of writing that in 2016, it was 10 years of my therapy work within the book, guiding people through to heal and transform what they may not have been able to transform either when their mother was alive, or if they don't know who their mum is actually they're able to perhaps understand what their mother may have gone through to perhaps give the child up for adoption, or what the mother may have gone through to behave in whatever way she may have behaved. So it covers all angles of the mother-daughter relationship. And also as well, guys are feeding back here that although the research or the stats is on that mother-daughter relationship, we all have a mum. And actually when we can identify or understand who our mothers are as a person, not just as our mothers, then often the reader will find that they're having a deep learning and emotional catharsis, because they have the ability to empathize or to learn differently, and also to change whatever limiting beliefs they may have about themselves, about not being lovable, not being good enough, you know, being criticized, whatever their experience may have been with their mother. In my second book, then we're just actually covering, again, that story doesn't need to be part of your future, make it work for you. And also, how can you change that outer relationship and inner relationship through communication? So that, you know, the book is vast. There's a lot in there, but I love to blend therapy with writing and helping people evolve through the written word when they're on the receiving end of the book and reading it, and then taking it step by step in their own time.
Yeah, I think there's so much in what you said there, so many points. And one I want to mention is, as I do, you use EFT, don't you,
Yes.
in your books? And I pinched your wonderful diagram actually, which is so good of you to let me have that. So, you know, EFT I think it's fantastic, because if people are prepared to put some effort into their own therapy, if you like, to do some for themselves, there is so much you can achieve with EFT. So, you know, that in itself is massive and such a great help. So to help people on that level is brilliant. The other thing that you said was, I so agree with on so many levels, was about when we don't have to keep being that person, we don't have to stay stuck in that rut. And what concerns me quite often, and I'd be interested in your view on this, is society. I feel like from the medical profession, in terms of getting a diagnosis for a health issue, whether that's a mental or a physical health issue, in certain cases, and just through the way society tends to be, is there seems to be this idea that I have depression, that's me. Or, you know, I have chronic fatigue, that's me. And I so believe in our ability on so many levels to heal. And I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it. So how do we get that message out to people to understand that, as you said just before, sort of where you are isn't where you need to be, just be open to change? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, love it. And great. And it's brilliant that you brought this up, Anne, because my take on it is that you are not your label. So often we're looking for a reason, we're looking for an identity. If we're out of sorts in whatever way, again, physically, emotionally, mentally, part of our I guess I want to call it entrainment, or part of our society is, well, we go to another person to have that diagnosis to help to sort us out. And I think the medical profession in their own right are doing a fantastic job. Obviously those working in the mental health arena, our work is in a way in the third field, so we're dealing with the energy level. So EFT is emotional freedom technique, and what we're allowing or helping people to work with is to move beyond the label. So if somebody comes to me with a diagnosis of depression or anxiety or a certain health issue, I tend to not repeat the word of the diagnosis. I'm taking, to me, the person I'm working with is naturally resourceful and whole. They have had perhaps a life experience that has led to the diagnosis. So what I actually do, I'm quite forward thinking in my work, and I say to them, okay, so if this is the problem, if depression, if they said, oh, I've got depression, or I've had this diagnosis of anxiety or some kind of physical health thing, I go, okay, thank you for sharing that. And actually, if this were an emotional problem, and we can make some progress emotionally for you that may change the physical component or may change the physical symptom, let's explore that together. So the beautiful thing about this, and again, if we talk about EFT, emotional freedom technique, it puts that person in control. Once they've learned the technique and they understand the processes, they've received some education, some resources from yourself or myself or any other practitioner working holistically, they can then go away and use that technique for themselves. So I'm very much about providing and educating that person so they can help themselves when they need it most. So again, I work beyond the label. You know, we can all label ourselves. If someone is coming, let's say, for weight management, I know one of your books in the future is going to be around weight management, then I'm always dealing with, well, actually, what's the emotional component of this? You know, what might be weighing you down emotionally? What weight of your past is getting in the way and stopping you from being a certain size or a certain shape, or stopping you from taking exercise or whatever it might be? So again, I move beyond the label. Something that I actually do as a written exercise is I ask people to write down their limiting beliefs. If there's some kind of body issue going on, what are they actually saying to themselves about their bodies? So some of the language, if you think again in terms of words or thoughts, the dialogue, what's the inner dialogue that they're saying to themselves inwardly? What are they saying when they're looking at themselves in the mirror? You know, what is it they believe about themselves? Or we think outwardly again about relationships, or the books that I've written, what is it they're saying or believing that's stopping them from having this breakthrough that they want? So again, when we're thinking about change the way in session I bring, you know, the writing coaching in a way almost into therapy session, is that the person will go away and I'll invite them to journal. So this may be around keeping a journal every day of mood. It may be around keeping a journal, of a gratitude journal of what they're grateful for. And there's many health and scientific studies on the benefits of gratitude journaling. We might also be asking them to keep, again, if they want a goal, if they want to achieve something, well, they may not have a blueprint of that. So it may be that I'm asking them to write from a future perspective. Okay, what is this like for you? How is your ideal day shaping up? What do you see, hear, feel, smell, taste, and sense when this has come to pass? So the therapeutic work and the written work, or again dealing with those labels, is we actually, we address them and we acknowledge them. So this is what we're working with, but actually, if this is the problem, what is the solution? So I work in a very forward solution results orientated way, and this is where for me coaching comes into it more than therapy. I might be teaching and sharing some therapeutic models, or using hypnosis or future life progression to move that person beyond the current problem, so they got a taste and a feel for it. And that very much so is just thinking about, well, how can we make change in the shortest time frame?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. So I think I can see why you and I get on so well, because we both sort of come from the same sort of playing field of sort of that honest approach. This is how it is, and so I can certainly see why we do get on so well. So I was interested to know if you have any particular inspirations in sort of either in life or in writing, anybody that either has helped you or you just look up to, or you've learned a lot from, maybe.
Yeah, I've been blessed, Dan, and kind of feel the emotion as well with that question of I've just had some amazing people support me in my life. So I actually want to credit, it's a beautiful lady who's no longer on this plane, but her name was Jane Taylor. And she was a counsellor that actually helped me in my 20s. And, kudos to this woman who just helps so many people. Another person who's inspired me greatly is Sasha Allenby. So Sasha Allenby was my original writing coach back in 2013. And Sasha initially comes from the background that we do. Sasha now runs Equality Hive, and she writes for thought leaders. She's a ghostwriter, very powerful creator, and I've been blessed to have Sasha's mentoring back at that time when she was running a program to help therapists and people working in holistic health. Another person, and this lady, I admire her so much. Her name is Ann Bowditch, and she's the creator of Future Life Progression. So again, Anne works in a future orientated way. All of her books are about the future. And again, this is what I love, because you don't need to let your past define you, whether it's your past life as we know it now, or whether or not you believe in past lives or ancestral lives. We can take all of this into account, but actually the more future focused we can be and the more orientated we can be towards making our future a great place to be. I think this is one of the reasons why Ann Bowditch inspires me so much. And I also, someone who's always inspired me just to keep real, and I'll share it because I think it's totally funny. My nan, she used to get words in a complete muddle. So she used to call things like her favourite perfume, she used to call it Tedladam, and it was actually Laird of Tomps. And
I know that perfume.
Yeah, and she would call, so the car Mercedes-Benz, she would call it Mercedes Beams. And we used to have these old-fashioned heaters with maximum and minimum, and she would call it the minimum. And to me, as a writer and author, I can still put posts out where there's things I spell back to front, or I'm spelling it the wrong way. So I'm always someone who believes in being real and who keeps the humour alive in things. And my nan used to swear like a trooper as well. So for me, it's just like, show up as who you are, be real. So I love people who are real in their life, who have a journey to share, and who are helping other people to move beyond their current setbacks and problems. And this is who I aspire to be. So, thank you to all of those people that I've mentioned and the people that I haven't mentioned. And actually, Richard McMahon is a close friend and also my publishing mentor. And Richard has been the one to help me get my books out there. So I want to give a big shout out to Richard and his team as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously I used Richard's services on my first book, and yeah, absolutely a great team there. So yeah, I completely agree on that. Yeah, it's so nice to hear you say about your nan, your gran. All of that is really, it's nice to be able to have those connections, isn't it? So what for you, do you see the future 2020 coming up? It sounds strange saying that. I've been saying that this week, and it's like, oh my goodness, I can remember the millennium. So how old do I feel? But you know, it's a big year really when you think about it. And I know you've got some things possibly floating around, and obviously you're still writing, but yeah, what do you have coming up?
Yeah, and I'm so excited. My heart's absolutely beating. I'm someone who's quite excitable anyway, but 2020 is just, I feel like it's a massive year of change for a lot of people. I see many people actually expanding and moving beyond, that prison or that comfort zone. So for me, 2020, my next book is Write From Your Heart, Discover Your Author Voice Through Journaling. And I've recognized that people actually need an outlet to write about all of their stuff before they go on, sometimes to write their first book. So 2020 for me is very much on completing that third book. I have other book ideas and workshops and projects in the making. I'm hoping to form an alliance and a partnership with someone who I really respect and admire, and to continue to learn from them. And between us, our idea is to help as many people as possible to write and publish their books. So I'm totally excited about that project. I love speaking from stage. I love sharing. I love engaging with people, and I love watching the transformation when you can encourage people to look within and actually see how far they've come, what they've already been through, and actually then support them to utilize that in writing and publishing a book. Then that is one of my key aims, to continue as a writing coach. I'm excited to be starting projects with people ghostwriting as well. So ghostwriting is when either they don't have the time or they want somebody else to write for them and to share their message, keep their voice and their message intact, and actually to run more workshops and retreats. I'm excited about reaching more people at the same time. So 2020 is like, I'm going tingly all over, and I'm like, it's not to wish 2019 away or my past away, but it's when you have an idea of what you want to achieve and you're taking action. So my key message is, whatever you want, take action on it every day, whether it's a minute, 10 minutes, an hour, 10 hours. You can write your future into being. You can create your future the way you want it to be. So 2020 is just like, I love the sound, I love the numbers, and I'm like, I'm ready, and I'm just so looking forward to everyone who actually commits to being the best that they can be in 2020 and beyond.
Who do you see as, I don't know if you can define, but I was wondering, who would you see as anybody that might come to you for help with their writing? So who would be effectively your clientele, your audience for that?
Yeah. So somebody with either a catalyst information to share. So someone who is a thought leader, who has an experience that they've been through. Maybe it's a process that they've developed that they want to share. So in two parts, it will be someone with an emotional story of transformation that they've come out of and been through the other side. That may be difficult for them to show up as who they are, but actually for another type of person, it might be someone who is actually too busy to write their book, and they would like me to ghostwrite them for them. So it's in two parts. It's anyone who has an emotional journey, who needs to work through that on an emotional level so they can put it into their book and write the book for themselves. Or the second part is where I actually write for them. The workshops and retreats will be slightly different because there may be people who have elements of their life where they still want to heal. So some of the workshops and retreats will be designed for therapeutic support and writing alongside, so they can get themselves up to a place where they're actually ready to start writing a book. And other retreats and workshops will be people who already actually know they want to write, they know what message they have to share, and then it will just be the next steps of either writing, coaching and mentoring, or ghostwriting for them, so that they have a defined date of when they're ready to write and publish their book.
Brilliant. And just a reminder, how can people get in touch with you and find out more about you? And obviously also your Facebook page, any Facebook page is relevant as well.
Yeah, for sure. And so my website is really simple. It's my name. So it's wendyfry.com. People are welcome to email me through the website as well if they have any questions. I also have, for anyone that's watching this video and the podcast, and if anyone wants to contact me, then there are some resources around journaling to help mental health and anxiety. There are various different resources that I'm happy to give away completely free. And I also there's a consultation that I run called Define Your Ideal Reader Breakthrough Blueprint, and I have an offer on that consultation for the remainder of 2019. So anyone that actually is curious about exploring their book journey, this consultation gives it's a 50 question Q&A, which actually helps them to steer and direct what is their book going to be about, who is it for. So everything through the website is the best place to reach me, and then I can guide people from there how to keep in contact with me or to join my mailing list of my forthcoming books and workshops and retreats.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Wendy. I think there's plenty of information there. I feel like we could probably talk for hours, really. So much to say. But hopefully that gives an insight, and it's really interesting just also to hear your background, because often you see the front of the person, but you don't know what's going on behind and what led them to get to that point. So I'm sure we'll talk again. I get the feeling.
I'm sure we will.
So thank you.
And thank you, Anne. And I want to say to you as well, I love the work that you're doing. I absolutely love your book, the energy of anxiety, and what you're doing to help people. And thank you for the privilege to share.
Thank you very much.